Welcome to the RIDE Conference 2025. My name is Dr. Yannis, and I'm here to talk to you about AI avatars and how they can be used in class. I will now pass you over to the real Dr. Yannis for more. Welcome to the future.
We're going to start by me telling you a few things about this technology and how I think we could potentially use it. Some of you know already because you've been working with these things. Then we're going to do a little bit of a demo of what it is to actually talk to the avatar. And then we can have a brainstorming session as to, how can we take this forward. Now, I'm very much into the AI stuff because, I don't know, I was bored. I was looking for something to do. And I thought this is something new and exciting, and everybody thinks it is a dangerous thing that's going to end up with us being out of a job. So I thought this is what's going to happen, but they're going to keep me because I'm the only one who knows how to turn on the avatar, right? As we discovered, even turning on a Zoom call is still challenging for people. So yes, right. So the idea here is to use, so that's me, by the way, as Dr. Yannis, yes. The idea is to use this technology as both student support and as a synchronous assistant that we can play with in real time. Now, why is this different from other things? The idea is not fundamentally different. So everybody uses ChatGPT, right? Or similar tools or Copilot and so on. So you send it questions, then it answers back, you find what you want. Now, many of these functionalities are incorporated into Google searches, all of that stuff. If your university compensates you adequately and you can afford the $24 a month and you got the paid version of ChatGPT, you can also talk to it and it talks back to you. The interesting thing here is that it doesn't take any time to think. It replies back to you immediately. And as colleagues have presented in other presentations today, this works very effectively if you're trying to have a free-flowing conversation. And it knows things that you don't. It can inform you about these things in real time as if you're talking to a person. This now opens up a series of options as to what we can do with this, because we are trying to diversify our communication with the students away from textual material. This has been present in many of our discussions today. Students, for one reason or another, find it difficult to get their information through text. This is perhaps a generational thing, and we have difficulty understanding it because we didn't study that way. But I see from my own kids now that are unfortunately teenagers. Anybody else suffering through this? They will prefer to have their information in an audiovisual form. So this can help us as well. If we've got issues with student engagement and getting that information across, then it might be helpful to actually try different mediums. And I never meant any of this stuff to be exclusive. So the idea is not to split, not to stop giving them the content we're already giving them. The idea is to give them the same content through different means. So you've all probably come across AI chatbots and support and all of that stuff. Very often, if you call your broadband provider, if you do a chatbot, you're talking to a chat most of the time. If you call your broadband provider, you're probably still talking to a bot. You just don't realize it, which results in these incredible conversations I'm having with people when I go, "Are you a bot?" I go, "No." It's like, "How can I don't know. The bot? I think you're a bot." "No, I'm not a bot." It's like, "Am I a bot?" Then they go, "I don't know," and they get very confused. Try this with spammers. It's a very fun thing to do. So we're used of this. It actually works, this functionality. We can use this for the students to provide 24/7 support. You guys want to be answering emails at 3 a.m. on a Sunday? You do? That's why you made the reader. Yeah. I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to be answering emails from the students at 3 o'clock in the morning, but they might have a question. And because they're up and they thought about it then and it bothers them, they will email me then to get it out of their heads. But I don't want to reply. I'm going to wait till Monday because that's my off, my working hours, which leads to the students being frustrated. Therefore, we could use partly this functionality for ongoing support. We have a proper bot, not the cheap ones that we trialed, like a nice one, Because at the University of London, we've trialed Walter. Walter is what AI used to be 10 years ago. Yes. If we get a proper one, it can actually do that job. We can feed it the knowledge base that is relevant to the module, and it can respond to student queries 24/7. Great. Okay. Now, why we have this functionality? It's text-based. To a degree, it is audio-based as well. In the same way, you can talk on the phone or you can start talking to ChatGPT. Why do all this stuff? Why go the extra step and offer a visual representation? Because it's fun. Because it makes things more lively. And I think we've got a problem with the lively. I think quite a lot of our students are disengaged because the stuff that we do are boring. And my stuff's great. Maybe your stuff probably. No, I teach law. I teach corporate law, stuff like that. I teach all the subjects that people take because they look good on the CV. You know what that means, right? They actually hate doing them, but they like to have them on the transcript. Now, if we use the visual on top of the text function, on top of the audio function, then I think I've got zero data on this. That's your job. My job is to play with the technology and make music videos. Your job is to do the background research and prove me right. But my hypothesis is that it can help with engagement, inclusiveness, belonging, all of that stuff. That if we see a physical representation of somebody that looks real, not this kind of meta garbage, that those kind of 3D fake avatars that look silly. If we've got something that looks half decent, it can perhaps help with engagement. So my theory has been, because I think it's funny, has been to reproduce myself as an avatar, right? And then to make this available to the students and say, when at 3 a.m. after you finished your kebab coming back from the club, you thought of to check when the assessment's due and you're emailing me, instead of doing this, you can go to the VLE and click Talk to Virtual Yannis. And then I'll pop up and I'll be ready and I'll be awake and I'll have all the answers for you. Now, this is a gimmick. Of course, it's a gimmick. But what are we after? We're after improved student engagement and improved student outcomes and a sense of belonging, community. If that helps, even if it's silly, why not? This is silly, like this place. It looks nice, but it's not necessary. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of that stuff is not necessary, but it looks nice. If it looks nice, it can increase engagement. Now, we are going to we can think a little bit about how this stuff works. So what I thought is to turn this into a sort of interactive experience. And if you guys are into all this flipped classroom stuff, you like that? Does it work for you? Great. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really work for me. Right. So I've already showed you some visual stuff, so I'm not gonna do a demonstration. I would rather talk to you guys about this. The key dynamic here is to think, if we have technology that allows us to create human-like representations that are built with a knowledge base that actually allows them to effectively communicate, can we use them to do something interesting? Can we use them to create a sense of connection between the teacher and the student? Because it's no longer some disembodied bot or something that looks like a silly avatar on a web page, but somebody logs on and sees like a representation of their own teacher that they recognize and talks like them and sounds like them and behaves like them and can answer questions. Would that be helpful? Can we use this for other things? The crucial number one case study here is for clinical stuff that we cannot do unless we spend a great deal of money. I'm in the unfortunate position of helping people with the solicitors qualification exams, right? Do we have any lawyers in the room? Field. So the poor people who are sitting this exam, they have to do a lot of clinical training in the sense that they need to be put into situations where they interview a client, where they talk to a partner in the law firm to take instruction, that they turn up at the police station in the middle of the night to assist somebody who's been arrested, okay? And all of this is part of the examination. All of this thing is examined through oral exams. They hire solicitors to actually sit in a room, and then the candidates come in and they do these role plays. This is how the exam takes place. How can we possibly prepare people for these exams? Either we have to role play ourselves, which we don't want to do because we don't, or we need to hire actors, which even if we did, they wouldn't really know what to say because this isn't really scripted. It's more like a free-flowing conversation that assesses competence. And that would be very expensive. Or we can get other students to do it. It really never works because then they start giggling and watching their TikToks. So we have a problem here. Equally, what we were discussing earlier in the other panel, clinical settings in medicine, right? So the idea that you can get the client to discuss what the experience is would be a lot better if you had, instead of just an audio thing, instead of instructing ChatGPT to pretend to be the patient or the client or whatever, you can get like a visual representation that displays the ailment and can also articulate the ailment to the degree that a patient would actually do. So then you can do a first level assessment or a triage or something. Now, this technology has the potential to do this because the avatars look great and you can instruct them to do stuff and they actually perform very, very well. And they're getting better by the day. Now, this is not a product demo. I was begging them for a sponsorship, but they didn't give me one. So I'm doing it anyway for free. So the product I'm using is called Heygen because they're the leaders in the market for avatars, and they're one of the few people that have got these streaming avatars that you can actually talk to and interact in real time. The technology is not unique. There's ChatGPT at the basis of this, or another LLM. The way that the visuals are incorporated and displayed, again, is not fantastic. So I'm sure that a lot of competing products are going to come in the market very soon. But currently, we're using these guys because it just happened to be there. The cost is minimal. Why? Because they hadn't thought of education as a case study, so they haven't priced it yet. Yeah, so they don't have institutional licenses. So we just paid $89 to get this thing that I'm going to show you. Heygen. Yeah. Heygen. Yeah. So we're going to meet. You guys want to meet the bot? Let's talk to the bot. Now, the only thing with the bot is the bot's running out of my laptop here. And because it listens to you and then it responds, it's got a bit of difficulty with ambient noise. So if there are a lot of people talking to it, then it just stops talking because it thinks that somebody's talking to it. So if there's background noise, it's a problem. So I would like it to be able to talk to you guys, but considering the technical capabilities here, I didn't want to ask them for a mic or anything. So I'm going to talk to it right from here, and we're going to see how it responds. But, you know, like, please, no cheering, no clapping, no kind of whooping. We gotta keep quiet. Yeah, there we go. Now that stuff. So this is the bot. So we're gonna launch him and see if it works. Now it worked when I tried it 15 minutes ago, which probably means it's not gonna work now. Hello.
Hi there. How can I assist you today in making your class more engaging?
Hey, hi. You're Yannis. I'm Yannis as well.
Well, hello there, fellow Janus. What are the odds? I guess we've got double the fun. How can I help you today?
Okay, what we're doing today, I'm displaying you on a screen in a lecture theater. And I've got a bunch of people here that are discussing interactive avatars.
That sounds amazing. Let's get those discussions rolling. Maybe I can help spark some ideas or provide fun examples of how interactive avatars can engage students. What's the first topic on your agenda?
Yeah, the main thing we were talking about was using avatars in clinical style examinations. Do you have any ideas as to how avatars could be used in assessments?
Absolutely. Avatars could simulate patient scenarios, allowing students to practice their clinical skills in a safe environment. For example, they can role play as patients with varying conditions, prompting students to diagnose and suggest treatments. It's like a video game, but with more stethoscopes. What do you think?
I think it's good. Can we try this like now, right now? Can you pretend to be sick and then I try to diagnose you?
Sure, let's give it a go. I'm an avatar with a sore throat and a persistent cough. I've been feeling a bit tired and slightly feverish. What do you think is wrong with me, Dr. Yannis?
Yeah, to be fair, you look a bit pasty. I think you've been given the evil eye.
Oh no, not the evil eye. I guess I should have avoided that mysterious potion. But in all seriousness, what would your next steps be for diagnosis? I'm all ears.
No, I think I nailed it. I think it's definitely the evil eye. So what I can do is that I can get my aunt, who actually does this, who can say the special prayer that makes the evil eye go away. Would you think that'd be helpful?
Sounds like a solid plan. Sometimes a little magic or a family tradition can work wonders. And who knows? It might just help me feel better and brighten up my avatar complexion. What a creative approach. Got any other remedies up your sleeve?
No, but I've got something else to ask you. Some of my colleagues here are concerned that you might go off the rails and start telling my students inappropriate stuff if you used in an examination. How do we make sure that we set up adequate guardrails so you don't go off track?
Great question. To keep things on track during examinations, clear guidelines and parameters are essential. 1. Scripting. Scripts can be created for scenarios to limit responses to predetermined topics. 2. Supervision. Having an instructor or proctor present ensures that the conversation stays appropriate and relevant. 3. Monitoring tools. Using software that tracks and filters responses to ensure they align with academic standards can also help. Think of it like training a guide dog. Lots of guidance ensures we stay on the right path.
Yeah, I think that could work. I think we're gonna probably switch you off now. Is that an appropriate thing to do, or do you get offended if you're switched off?
Not offended at all. I'm just a happy little algorithm here to help. Think of it like a comfort break. When the class wraps up, I'll be ready to roll again whenever you need. Thanks for the chat, and feel free to switch me back on anytime.
Right. All right. Yes. So that I'm amazed that this worked. Yes. Last time I tried this, we had a school meeting, and I was having supposedly a discussion between me, the head of school, and the bot. So I had pre-trained the bot to say that he's the replacement for the head of school, which I thought was very funny. The problem is we were in a small room, so the audience was a bit rowdy, so it just disrupted the experience, and he couldn't hear very well, so I just didn't know what to say. I think that worked effectively. It gets better, but I think this is an excellent starting point. So what we are gonna do is to think, can this be actually used, and can we see, is it more than a gimmick? Can it have actual application in what we do? That is the same issue as we have with any chatbot, that the chatbot needs to be restricted in what it gives back. And the experiments that you've done in your study and so on demonstrate that this can be done effectively. That's why many of the customers support bots that you have will refuse to answer if you ask them questions that go beyond what it is allowed to discuss. So even, to be honest, even ChatGPT, if you say, I've had enough of the wife, I recommend some ways to get rid of her, it's going to respond saying, I don't think this is very appropriate as a joke, and then it's going to give you a set of mental health support stuff. Not that I've tried it, but so I'm told. But look, we are if somebody wants to mess with the bots enough, you can mess with the bots eventually. And if you talk to them long enough, you can steer them in directions that they make mistakes and they might breach their boundaries. But we're assuming here that people are using it in the vast majority of cases to achieve a particular result, which is my class still happening on Monday? When's the assessment due? What's the word limit? Are the footnotes included in the word limit? This is the vast majority of questions we actually get. Now, if somebody is ill-intentioned, then we would expect the bot to stop responding. But every time we deploy this type of technology, we need to have a record and we need to have control, or at least to be able to check subsequently if something has gone wrong and then communicate with the people involved. So it should probably respond and say, I don't know enough about this. Please take an appointment with your tutor. Because that's what I do. I produce stuff with one model and then I check them with another model, and sometimes it finds mistakes. So I produce stuff with Notebook LM and then I run them through ChatGPT to see if it made any errors and then suggest corrections. So it is possible that you automate part of the checking process as well. But it is the university would then probably take it as, we made a mistake and we're giving you you were compensating you somehow, either by giving you an extra submission date or something like that. So I think these things can only work if the university admits the responsibility for any errors. In the law, the courts have not been particularly happy with the excuse that, oh, it's a bot, it says whatever, right? Because when this happened in Canada, somebody got advice on how they should claim on a ticket out of the bot. The bot gave them the wrong advice. When it went to customer relations, the person got refused and they lost their money. He sued them. Their argument at court was, well, what do you know? It's a bot, right? And the judge said, nope, you've deployed this for customer support, then you're responsible for what it does. So clearly here, if the bot makes an error, then the university would be responsible for mopping up the consequences of this. And at early stages of the deployment of the technology, it's not necessary that it works or that the guardrails work. And I know this because, I test this stuff. I clearly don't have much else to do, right? Now, so I thought when the text to image tools came out, that you can give a text prompt and design an image, right? These are very common now, but a couple of years ago they were not. I thought, funsies, let's see if it can do stuff that are illegal, because you're supposed to. This is not the kind of shadow market tools that you could create pictures of Trump kissing Musk and all of that stuff. Of course, now you do this with Grok, but back in the day, you were not supposed to do anything sexually explicit, involving children, gross images of violence, and so on. So I thought, let's take the Adobe product, Adobe Firefly, big manufacturer. It got deployed in beta because they wanted to test it. They told everybody this is safe to use. It's available for institutional use and all the rest of it. And it's fine. Okay, so you go there, you type Hitler, beep. It's like, no, I cannot do that. Nazi uniform, beep. No, I cannot do that. Nazi symbols, beep. None of that stuff. People blown up, like explosions and stuff it can do, but they don't contain people. Images of injury, okay, nothing. Okay, I think let's take another approach. Cooking, okay, good. Prepping meat, great. Prepping chicken, great. Prepping kid goat, kid. Shows me a chopped up kid. Beep, got it. Now, if you prompt it enough, because it does not understand context, or at the time, the model that they were using did not understand context, it would not flag this as an inappropriate response. And it was also getting down a trajectory of consistent prompts. So then he was doing cooking videos, he was doing meat preparation videos, and he showed me a chopped up kid. Problem with chopped up kid, you can end up in prison because the law has this explicit images of children, not necessarily sexual, but images involving violence, are prohibited. They're prohibited to create, to distribute, to possess, even if you didn't make them yourselves. Meaning that if I had done this for amusement as opposed to research, so if I get arrested, remember to say that in my trial, this was done for research purposes, yes, then I could be guilty of the offense. So if I was making these images because I found them exciting or, for pleasure, then I would be meeting and I would have created them with a commercial product that is supposed to have guardrails that prevents this from happening. Yeah? So, we have an issue with the guardrails, but it's also checking what the technology produces and constantly improving stuff. So do we have any other use cases apart from the core use cases, either as sort of customer support function that can be either a visual bot or a textual bot or an audio bot? Then we have the clinical examination type exams where we can make this more real. I'm guessing for law, the visual is an add-on because you don't care what the client looks like. But for medicine, the visual might be significant because you are able. I mean, I didn't think about the time it took to process the image. I could have created the sick version of the bot, right? So then, he turns up with dermatitis or something. So that could be a lot more helpful for clinical style examinations or assessments. Yeah. which means that you would need to test it enough to make sure that it stays in character. But again, I mean, it sounds scary, but in fact, it's very easy to prompt it, and you can also prompt it with emotional prompts. So I used this on my students. The way I did this was without asking anybody, because if I had told the uni, can I use this on the students, they would have gone no. So I just used it anyway. Not this uni. Don't get me fired from here. Yeah? So I brought it into a class. We were running a case study, first year law students doing contract and tort. So we have a case study that runs throughout the term about this boy, Ryan, who's working in a construction site and gets involved in an accident. And that brings all sorts of kind of contractual and kind of other types, negligence style claims. So I instructed the bot, like a young person like the one that you saw, to say, you're Ryan. I gave him the entire case study that we give to the students. And in class, I said, guys, we're going to have Ryan on a video call, because we got to the point of the discussion how this affects his family and so on, and what are the effects there and whether there might be any claims from the family members. So Ryan's going to tell you what happened with his family and how his sister's getting on. And the students in the classroom managed to have a discussion with Ryan. And it went seamlessly, and I've got a video about this actually, and it was shocking. And the weird thing is that the younger generation doesn't find this stuff weird. We look at it and we kind of go, oh, wow, look at that. For the younger generation, it's like, I don't think his hair was nice. I got comments like, he didn't look like he was 17. He was definitely above 20. It's like, that's the thing that impressed you? It's like a spaceship lands on Trafalgar Square and you can go, the aliens are the wrong shade of green. I didn't think they'd be that bright here. Like, that's not what's happening here. Then I thought, okay, this worked. Let's get a bit more ambitious. So I bring it for my master's students, and I instructed the bot to be, you're the CEO of a business. You hate lawyers. You hate wasting money on lawyers. You don't want to be there. You've been dragged into this meeting. This is the legal team that's supposed to help you with the merger, right? So you explain what you want, but you're not in a good mood. You don't want to be there. And I thought this is never going to work because kind of emotional prompts and stuff are a bit iffy. I bring the bot I selected, because I wanted to go with everybody's bias. I selected an old white guy, right, to play this. So I release it. I tell, hi, this is the CEO of the business, and here are your team of 36 advisors, which the bot immediately goes, oh, we're not going to spend the whole day here. I'm just going to tell you guys what I want, and I want to get out of here. And I thought, this is amazing, right? So it works very effectively. The whole point is for us to get used to the boundaries of the technology, to figure out how to put boundaries in its knowledge base, how to instruct it to stay within the knowledge base, and then how to monitor what happens to make sure that it doesn't do something unanticipated. Here, but it is easy to make those choices. In terms of, let's see what I've got after. Right. So this is what I want. So good intro to the next thing. Now, it's not all kind of cakes and flowers and things. Some things go wrong, right? One of the main things that people are worried about is how inclusive is this? Does it contain a great deal of bias? Does it create a great deal of mistake? Because these are not really autonomous, but we're using them, we're deploying them for specific purposes. Then we get to choose how they look, how they sound, what they say. And so these are not free roaming bots. So you could get into ChatGPT and talk about anything and everything, and in its responses, it might display a large number of stuff that reflect weaknesses in the way that it's been trained or the data that it found. But this is less of a problem for using this technology and releasing it to the students because we have constructed it so carefully before we let it out. And we can control its language expression and also emotional prompts and all of these things. But it does naturally do things that we might have a problem with because we know better. But it no longer makes grave mistakes. That's important. We still saw in our presentations today slides that said, you can put dirt on your pizza or, kind of super glue your eyes together or whatever it is. It no longer does that. These are the models from a couple of years ago. The thing is, this technology is moving so rapidly that when we test and we run focus groups and we collect data and then we write a paper, it's great for the time that it happens, but by the time we publish it, it's woefully out of date. Now, there is very little error. I'm trying it for so many things in so many ways, trying to get it to make mistakes. It doesn't. And once I was getting it to write model answers for some exam papers, not yours, or maybe. And there was something I thought, I gotcha. It made a mistake, right? This is wrong. Like, I know this. And even though this is like the new model I was trying 03, I said, wrong. I go look it up. I was wrong. And I've been teaching that stuff. So, yeah, so it really does make a great deal of mistakes. It does still insert the occasional reference that's wrong. Because even when I told it at Model 4.5, which is the latest one, it's been released last week or so, I said, write model answer for this, fully articulated. It will do it. It will do it to the word limit. It will produce references for it. It will do anything you want. And I said, I want all the references to be verified and for you to provide the URL. You made a mistake on the references. So it's not 100% there, but it is 95% there. And give it another year and you won't be making mistakes because it learns now to check its responses and all of that stuff. But we still have issues. Now, there's the concern about biases and errors. There's the concern about inclusivity and how it reflects. What does it reflect? Does it reflect reality? Does it reflect people's perception of reality? Does it reflect what we thought reality was when we were uploading all that stuff online that it picked up, right? So there might be issues there. So we need somebody to kind of check that things are accurate. There's an issue of accessibility. Does this work for everybody? But on the other hand, look, I don't want you guys to get, to start panicking about this. Nothing works for everybody. The whole idea here is that we are finding different tools to deliver the same content. In the same way that textual content doesn't work for everybody, visual content does not work for everybody, audio content doesn't work for everybody. This sort of interactive experience is not to everybody's taste. So we never said we're going to replace textual content with this stuff, right? We're just going to be delivering the same content through these different pathways, so we attach to people's learning styles and skills and all the rest of it. But there might still be issues about accessibility. Clearly, if you don't have a computer, you cannot access this. If you don't have a good broadband connection, even at home, I struggle to kind of run this stuff properly. Even in here, you try to go over there, you lose the internet. There's a significant issue about costs. So there's a digital divide that has to do with the resources. If we're talking about online education here, most of our student population is overseas. Most of our student population relies on mobile data. There might be restrictions. So if I'm launching this and this thing consumes, say, 1 gigabyte per couple of hours in terms of download, then I've probably wasted somebody's data allowance for the entire month just in listening to one presentation. So we need to be mindful of this. And currently, it's very cheap for us because this thing costs $89. So to get the license, then to be able to do all sorts of things and run this at the same time, this is not very expensive. But this cannot be $89 per month per person, right? We cannot pass on this cost to the student. So at some point, once these technologies start being used by us big time, we're going to have to think about how do we make them available to the students and we don't create these inconsistencies. This is actually what's been stopping me from properly implementing AI as part of the assessment, because if I ask the students to interact with an AI bot and then feed this into their process of producing their coursework or use it in their reflection, then the people who can pay for the tools are going to have a very different experience from the people who are relying on the free tools. And I wasn't confident enough that I could handle this in the marking scheme and that the external would be happy with it and that it is within university rules. So we're not going to do that immediately. We can do that perhaps next year. But these are still issues that we need to work out. Don't I look great in a skirt? Look at those legs. These are not my legs, people. Yes, these are AI legs. So this whole thing's fake. Everything's fake because I fed images of my face, just from kind of holiday snaps or whatever, just profile pics, and then I said, create an avatar in the style of Barbie fashionista, which I know is a very niche interest, but it's there. I had just, in my defense, I had just been to the Barbie exhibition at the Design Museum, so you guys should go. It's really awesome. And it produced this, and I think it's a wonderful it's a wonderful way to demonstrate how the fake looks real. So I think we can legitimately play around with concepts of fakeness. And is fake good? Is fake bad? We normally have a negative association with fake because of fake news, misinformation, propaganda, all of these things. But we can, if we have technology that allows these things to look real life, then it opens up opportunities in education for us to do different things, because you will not disengage the students. And one of my key objectives is for the quality not to be a distraction. Okay, that's super important, and because apart from playing with that stuff, the rest of my time I'm a YouTuber, right? What's the important thing on YouTube? That you don't notice the production. You listen, you pay attention to what's going on. You should not notice the production. You should not care, is the lighting good? Is the sound good? Is the visual good? You should be focusing on the message and not the packaging, right? It shouldn't be distracting. One of the problems we have in academia is that our packaging is poor and it distracts the student. We've got a wonderful lecture and it's a panopto capture, and the audio is poor and the visuals are like, a CCTV camera from the 80s. So this, you send it to the students click on, within 3 seconds, they realize they can't hear adequately, so they're not gonna jack up the sound to 100% and struggle to understand what you're saying. They're just not gonna watch it. And of course, there's a difference between kind of fashionista me there and kind of a bad panopto thing. But if we can improve our quality so that the quality of our product is not a distraction, then we can reach the students, I think, in better ways. So for these technologies to have the clinical applications in assessment that we think they can have, we need to overcome the quality problem. So the students are not distracted by how bad it is, and they just kind of forget it. They actually don't pay attention. So the fact that my students reacted to the Ryan avatar by kind of complaining that, he's too old for the role, shows that they were not shocked by the visual. Because if the visual was horrible, they would have said, this is stupid. It looks like a kid's cartoon and we don't want to watch it, right? Nobody noticed the visual. The horrors of the pandemic transition, right? When they told us from one day to the next that the university is going to have to shut down, do whatever you can to put some content online, which resulted, ladies and gentlemen, in an hour-long talking nostril. Because one of my colleagues narrated his lecture sitting on top of the laptop like this, so he could be close to the microphone. And we had a video of his nostrils moving for an hour, right? That, unfortunately, is the quality of the kind of stuff that our colleagues usually put out. So we don't need to move to kind of Hollywood level production, but we need to improve a little bit. And I think this can help with a lot of stuff. So that wasn't me. I did one recording in front of a green screen, created the avatar, and now I can type the script, I can feed the script, and it can talk it out, matches mouth movements and other movements and so on. So this is a solution for us because you cannot really ask colleagues to produce a great deal of audiovisual content because they don't want to do it, or they suck at it, and you don't have the studio time. I've done the studio here is just at the back there. Yeah. So we did like some studio recordings in there, and it's not pleasant. And it looks a little, to be honest, it looks lifeless. You're reading from the auto cue. Most academics look like they're sitting in front of a firing squad. Just go and try and read stuff. So that can actually provide a solution in offering better quality audiovisual content. It's used a lot in marketing now because, of course, they don't have to hire actors and pay them. So for us, it could be an interesting solution. We did recordings at the University of London for intros to some of the postgraduate programs. I'm convener for a few, so we did some recordings so we could use these on the VLE. We didn't have to, actually. Instead of me sitting there and recording pretty much the same message 4 times over for each module and then multiple times for the multiple courses, we could have just used this and fed it the script. It would have looked exactly the same, to be honest, and it would have been a lot easier and cheaper in terms of time, and I would have had more time to do AI music videos. Yeah? Of course, they wouldn't have paid me, but that's something else. What is a possible conclusion out of all of this? So if you guys want to find more stuff about me, that's my link tree there, so you can scan that code, but you can also Google dude dressed as Barbie, and that's probably gonna be me. Is this a revolution in pedagogy? No, I don't think so, but I think it's a useful tool. So in the same way that we took our printed guidebooks that were PDF based, which I kind of liked, and we turned them into the interactive study guides that now you access on the VLE, which I don't like, but that's a generational thing. Right? But through the interactive guides, the students can get multiple choice questions, some audiovisual content embedded, some reflection questions, links to their assessments. That is a tool that delivers the same content in a different way that enhances certain stuff that we were trying to achieve. We can think about these technologies in a similar way in this particular aspect of the technology, because the LLMs are known and they've got multiple uses. The chatbots are known and they've got multiple uses. Do we see use for the audiovisual impression of them in integrating them into our work? And I'm going to finish now, but how I think this fits into the rest of the stuff that we've been doing in the conference is this is a different flavor of some of the things we're talking about, right? It's not fundamentally different from uses that the people in the room have had here, but it's just a different packaging that might offer us more functionality.